Juggalos in recovery, man.
Right, all right, guys. How's everybody doing? This is the Sober Soldier Sundays meeting of Juggalos in Recovery. My name is D, and I am the host for this meeting. Um, it's glad to see all y'all here and early. I have a amazing guest speaker who dabbled in the Juggalo lifestyle and that I've known throughout my whole sobriety, and I know her and her kids and her boyfriends, and the post for the meeting was her at my wedding, and she is an amazing person and she helps tons of people in recovery in the community, and she's very knowledgeable about the 12 steps and growing as a person. And with that, I would like to introduce y'all to my friend Sarah. And
Hey
after
guys.
she gets done sharing, just raise your hands, unmute your mics, and be respectful.
Thanks, Bryant. My name's Sarah. I'm an alcoholic. I say alcoholic because I work AA, but there's like I did many drugs. But since I'm here, I'm gonna be able to talk about everything, just like I do when I speak at Halfways. Anyway, so yeah, my sobriety date is May 2nd, 2017. And for a long time that I think something kept me out for a while, and a long time kept me from doing what I needed to do in recovery. And that word is such a big thing in my life now, but it's God. I remember the first time that I sat in the rooms down in Florida. I sat in the very back of, it's called Fellowship Hall. It's like where like all of our AA meetings are. And I sat in the back of the room, literally like covered in track marks. My hair was bright blue. I was covered in track marks, and I sat right next to the door, and I looked up at the steps, and that was the first time that it hit me. I just went, fuck. And the kid next to me was like, what? And I was like, it just says God a bunch of times. And he was just like, yeah. And I was like, shit. Like, I knew. It's funny, even though I didn't want it to be my answer, like I realized at that point that it almost had to be. So I do have a God in my life, not the Catholic one that I grew up with, but I did baptize my kid Catholic just in case. Anyway, so yeah, I was born in New Jersey. I have a sister, a dad, a mom. I never really knew my sister much growing up. She was just like this chick that was like in a picture, and like I knew that her name was April, but like I really knew nothing else about her. When I was like 6 or 7, I met her for the first time at a diner. My parents are gnarly, man. Like it's funny, like they literally like had her like tell me that like her last name was like my last name, even though like it was like a whole thing. Like I had to believe that my dad was her dad, even though like he wasn't. It was just the weirdest thing. Like my parents like really for a lot of my life tried to keep me like super sheltered. But I met her for the first time. I was like 6 or 7, and she was in college. She's 12 years older than me. She was in college, and she showed me how to draw eyes on a napkin for the first time. And it's a really random fucking thing to remember, but that's what I remember. And it's funny because guess what? I could still draw eyes like a motherfucker on a goddamn, like in general. You know what? Before that, I'm just gonna little tangent. I used to draw them one small or one big. I can do them pretty damn well now. Anyway, moving forward, met her for the first time when I was like 6 or 7, and then my dad worked for American Honda. He's retired now, but we moved out to from New Jersey, moved out to we moved to Huntington, but his job moved him to Torrance, California. So we moved to Huntington Beach, California, which I mean it was beautiful, but that was where a lot of my fuckery began, really. Like I said, my dad worked for Honda, so I grew up on like dirt bikes and quads and everything. And that was pretty awesome. Like when I was 3, my dad got me my first quad. When I was 4, I was driving it and I flung him off the back and he tried to chase me down with it. And I just kept going. Fuck this. But anyway, yeah. So we moved out to California. And my sister would come out to visit and stuff. And then I found out that like she didn't have the same dad. And my dad was like super abusive growing up, like mentally, physically. Like he was just like not the nicest. And it's funny, a lot of alcoholics that I work with are like, my dad wasn't very nice either. And I was like, oh, really? I wonder. But yeah, so anyway, I've, found out that she was, a different, so she actually, my dad, like I said, super abusive. She actually left when I was 1. That's why I had no idea who she was, to live with her dad in a tent because she did not want to live in the 4-bedroom house that my parents had provided. So there was that. But anyway, I was like always that kid that did like, I always tried to like make my dad proud. Like he was angry, but he was also like one of my best friends when I was a kid. And like, I always wanted to make him proud. And, like I was like a straight A student. Like I remember I was walking home in middle school and I was by myself. It took me like 20 minutes to put my middle finger up. When I actually did, I was like, whoa. Like it was like the most wild thing. Like I literally grew up just like, I don't know, like I had to just walk the line, and I was in like I did church. I sang and in the church choir. I played the chimes. I did everything that was ever asked of me. But it's funny because I did everything that I was ever asked of me, and I still got hit, So when I was a little bit older, I remember the first time I was like 15 and I was doing over the, so it's called junior guards. And it's like, they like, I don't know, it's like it's like, they have you like swim around the pier and like run 2 miles on like hot sand and like say yes sir to lifeguards. It's like a whole thing. I made good friends. It really wasn't too much fun. There's that part. But what's it called? So I met this chick, Creelan, and it was funny. And I slept over her house. And that night, like, we snuck out and we went to the park. It was like us and like, another chick that like snuck out of her house and like 2 other kids. And we went to the park and we were all sitting there in a circle. And the one kid like whips out this bong from a backpack. And he was like, you ever smoked before? And my dumbass answer, yeah, I have. Like, fucking noob. Like, come on, dude. Like, you don't know the contraptions of this thing. Like, so I'm like, he gives it to me and he's like, oh, you haven't been in this circle before. Here you are. And I blew right into that bong. I blew right into it. And I fucking soaked the weed, and they took the bong. And the first time I smoked weed, I didn't smoke. I didn't actually get high. So that was fun. Anyway, give me a couple days later, I got high, and it was great. And then from there, I started. My parents had a liquor cabinet. It's funny; it was above the house phone. Nobody fucking has house phones anymore, but it was like above the house phone was the liquor cabinet. And like my dad used to come home from work and I knew like he like showed me how to like mix him drinks and do all this shit. So like I knew like where everything was in that liquor cabinet. And I remember I like did the old like empty water bottle, and then like I had a bottle of water, and then like I poured out. I grabbed the one thing that I saw for like ever that they never touched, and it was orange vodka. And it was just chilling in the back in some fucking plastic ass container. And I was like, sweet. So I like poured some of that shit out and I like added some water, and I was like, all right, like that fucking looks normal. And then like I went out and I got drunk, and it tasted terrible. It's funny. It tasted terrible. I got drunk. I didn't like the feeling, but guess what I did? I did it again a couple days later. And that's kind of like my story in a nutshell, really. Like over and over and over again, there are things that I didn't like different effects. and then I just kept doing it again. It was like, it's one of the, I feel like it's like you try and you don't succeed, you try and try again. Well, I took that the wrong fucking way. Like I shouldn't have done that over and over and over again, but I did because I am an addict and an alcoholic. Um, and anyway, so I started drinking at a young age, and then I was friends with this chick Sarah. Just stupid fucking story. I was friends with this chick Sarah like right when I moved out there. I was in third grade. I met her at the YMCA the summer before third grade. We were both in the same class, so we're both Sarahs, and you know we were growing up together. And then I was in middle school, and she got mad because she just like ditched me, and I like needed a ride, and so I had to call my mom and tell her that like she wasn't there and that she ditched me. And then she got mad because my mom called her mom, and then she got mad at me because even though she was the one that ditched me, and got mad because her mom wouldn't take her to Abercrombie and fucking Fitch. Anyway, so this friend, we were not friends for like a year and a half, and then all of a sudden she like hits me up randomly, and she's like, "Hey, sorry I was such an asshole. Fuck Abercrombie." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Let's hang out." And I was like, okay. I don't know. I don't know. I've always been a people pleaser, so of course I'm like, okay. So I meet her was downtown Stewart, and or Jesus Christ, downtown Huntington. It's where I live now. Meh. I met her down there, and it's funny. So you know, she introduced me to her boyfriend, who was a year older than her, and introduced me to quite a few people. And it's funny because all of the chicks were like younger, like 14, 15, 16, maybe 17, and like all the dudes were between like 16 and like 27. And it's really funny, like looking back now, like just fucking looking back now, that's some red flag ass shit that you got some motherfucker like somebody like 10 years older than a teenager hanging out with them. Throwing that out there. Anyway, so they were all for the most part gang members. That was fun. But they actually introduced, so I enjoyed myself. I'm not gonna lie. I wish I didn't, but I had a pretty good time because I feel I very quickly realized that I was gonna get hit whether I smelled like a cigarette. I was gonna get hit whether I got a B. I was like I was gonna get the same punishment for two completely different actions. So I just kind of at 15 just really said fuck it, and just did what I wanted when I wanted. So it escalated pretty quickly. I hung out with them literally all the time. I ditched school. I took report cards. Like when I say I took report cards, like I stole my report cards for 2 years, because it's not like nowadays where like it gets sent to your family's phone or some shit. I don't know what the fuck they do. My kid's 3. I don't know what they do yet for report cards, but I know they do some shit where the parents can get it and you can see literally everything. But yeah, we just got report cards in the mail, and I would just like sign, you know, hand them a letter that said for me to be able to get out of school with my mom's, you know, quote unquote signature. It was mine. It was my signature, but it was my mom's. So I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding about myself. But yeah, like I just really did whatever, and it's funny. It's two years straight of Fs where I just really didn't give a fuck. And I got, at that point, my dad had a lot of different back surgeries and knee surgeries. Like I feel it's funny. My back's doing better now. But it's actually funny. Like my back was doing really bad, and I was like refused to do surgery. And just because like I watched my dad like get surgery after surgery after surgery. So I'm like, I will never get back surgery. I will do PT for the rest of my life if I have to, but like fuck that. But yeah, so anyway, he also had like mad painkillers because of that, like in a drawer. And he's not an addict or an alcoholic. So they were just chilling in a drawer, and I would just kind of go in there and just like the orange vodka, take a little bit here and a little bit there. And I had like a little baggie with all this shit that I didn't fucking know what it was. I had no idea what it was, but I was just taking it. And I was giving it to people, and we were having a grand time. Anyway, so when I was 16, we went out to we went to New Jersey. Me and my mom went to visit our family in New Jersey, and my dad didn't go, but my dad didn't go. And when we were out there, we were there for 2 weeks right before school started, and my mom looked at me and she was just like, it was literally like the day before we were supposed to leave. Like we were already checked in for our flight. She looked at me and she was like, "You're a kid." And I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "No, like you're a kid." And I was like, "What? What?" And she was just like, "You haven't acted like a kid in years. Like I have not seen like the child that I raised in years." And like it had really I don't know, I was just like, okay, cool. Like I didn't get it, but it's like being, like I'm in my 30s now, and like now like I get it. Like I get what she was saying. Like she got her kid back, like even if it was only for 2 weeks, she got her kid back. So she was like, we're staying. Like we're staying. And my dad had always like threatened to just like it's funny. Like I wanted to be a therapist so bad because my mom would be inside crying and my dad would be outside screaming, and I would like be the one in the middle making everybody feel better. But that's turned after a while. I it took me some time, but I realized it's not a very good reason to be a therapist. It's actually a really fucking sick reason to be a therapist. But yeah, so like my dad had always threatened to like he wanted to leave us and go live on a boat. So that was cool. But yeah, my mom told him that we were staying in New Jersey, and he didn't care. He stayed there, and they got a divorce. And it's funny, I say that so like they got a divorce, but it actually it was a 10 fucking year divorce. Who takes 10 fucking years to get a goddamn divorce? That's the longest motherfucking divorce that I've ever fucking witnessed in my life. Anyway, sorry, just have to say that. Every time I share my story, I'm just like, it was a long divorce. Like it was, man. Like it's funny because like over and over, like my mom would ask me, like it's kind of like that kid growing up and still doing the thing. Like my mom would ask me, like, please, like come with me to support me. And it's like, shit, dude, like that was kind of like once again looking back, like that's kind of a shitty situation to put your kid in. Like, come support me against your father in our divorce. Like, fuck, dude. Shouldn't have done that, but anyway. It's funny, my sponsor keeps telling me, you can't look back on things the way that you would have done them. That's a sick thinking, and you're going to be filled with resentments. And I'm like, yep, got it. But I would have. And she's like, no, like you can't, because she loves to tell me that I'm not stronger than God, and the way that things happen, they worked out for a reason. And if I think that I would have done it better, then I think that I'm better than God. So that's a knife to the heart. Anyway, so we're out there, and it's funny, I ended up going to a Catholic high school. um Catholic school is such a fucking joke. Like after like going to public school my whole life and then Catholic school the last 2 years, like that shit was a fucking, like, okay, I shoved this kid into a locker and smacked his head into a desk 2 separate occasions. They did fucking nothing. Catholic school, they told me my mom got me tested for like ADHD and shit. Yeah, I got ADHD. What of it? Anyway, so I've got ADHD, and they put me in like I don't have like an aide following me around or anything. Like that didn't happen. But I did get to take my tests with aides, not aid, people aides. I did get to take my test with aides, and they 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 just like gave me the answers. They were like, all right, you little fucking dumbass. And they just like gave me the answer. I fucking graduated with honors, and I was barely there. That shit was tight as hell. Sorry. Just make it every time. Anyway, every time I think back about it, it's like I was standing there with like my little honor sash, high as a fucking kite, pissed everyone the fuck off. It was amazing. Anyway, so I was out there, and for a while, like I said, my mom said I was a kid. I was a kid. Like I really was. And then I wasn't. It's funny. She took me to the doctor because she said that I was depressed and that I had trauma. So I said, okay. So we went to the doctor, And this doctor, thank God she's not practicing anymore. I was 16 years old and she was like, she is not depressed. She has got anxiety and she has got terrible ADHD. And my mom was like, well, what do we do? And what did she do? Here you are, 16-year-old. Take this Xanax and take this fucking. It was called, so it's called Focalin. She gave me like, it was like, it's like fucking Adderall and Adderall, man. Like it's some fucking shit, dude. Like it was interesting. So yeah, I was 16 being prescribed hard fucking drugs. So it's actually funny. I tried to get high. I remember I called my friend like in like California. I was like, guess what the fuck? This doctor just fucking prescribed me, yo. Like this is fucking tight. But like once again, looking back as an adult, what in the fuck? You know, like what the fuck, dude? So I tried to get high on the Focalin, but I couldn't get high on the Focalin because I am ADHD. So I sold that shit to some rich fuckers. I sold that shit for $30 a pop to some rich ass motherfuckers. And well, they weren't rich. Their parents were rich and they paid all this fucking money to be at the school. And they made fun of me. It's funny. Like, you know, we didn't do like we were not well off, or we were well off. I don't fucking know. We weren't fucking poor. We weren't like rich, but like my dad had money. And like, you know, like I said, like I grew up on dirt bikes and stuff. So like we had money for toys and shit. My dad had a boat. Like that's not, you know, and going from that to living with my cousin, sharing a room with her, I worked at Fridays like just to help my mom, and like it's funny like going from that to that. And every kid, this was like right when they started having like computers in high school, like right when they started doing that, or it was just the rich kid high school that they started doing it. I don't fucking know. All I know is that every other kid had an Apple, and I don't know what the fuck it was. I don't even think it was an actual name brand. All I know is that it was $150 and it was what we could afford, and I got made fun of all of the time for not being, I don't know, rich, for not having an Apple. So in my brain, my little justified brain was like, that's right, motherfuckers, you will buy my Focalin at a really high price and I get it for free. Fuck you. Anyway, sorry. That's my thinking a lot. Not now, but before that was my thinking. It was super deranged justification. Anyway, so like I said, I very quickly got back into shit. Hung out with this one kid who he used to have like those little, like, you know, you can get like those little necklaces that are pill cases. They're like, there's like a little silvery guy that was around his neck, and like he literally kept 30s in there. And like I like I said, I was barely in school. So like I was not doing very good. When I graduated, I love how I always forget to mention this motherfucker until I get to when I graduated. I moved back to California to be with him. So, and then he proposed to me. His name was David, and he actually, I fell in love with him before we moved out to New Jersey. So he had a tattoo of a dick like right on his knee. So when he had sat down wearing his shorts, it looked like a dick was hanging out. Like he thought he was like the coolest thing. And you know, 16-year-old me thought he was the coolest thing. And he bought me, you know, 4 Locos and shit before they were like, I don't know what they changed in them, but when they were deadly, yeah, he was great. So I moved back out to live with him. Fun situation that I ended up in. I'm just going to say, this is a really interesting just twist and turn of events. Moved in with him and I got really excited. It was the first day. I've got my little backpack. I've got my suitcase and my pillow, and I'm like, you know, hi, all excited. And he was in prison, by the way, for like years while I was in high school. And he was like, you can date other men. Obviously it was boys because I was in fucking high school. He's like, you can date others. And when I'm out, like, you're mine. And I was like, okay. So, you know, just blonde moment. Let me just say this really quickly. Just complete blonde moment. I moved into to what was a meth house. He we had it was a mom and her sister downstairs. And there was 6 kids that lived in the living room. Upstairs there was 3 bedrooms. There was our room, which had a connecting bathroom to these people with a giant fucking snake and like a 2-month-old baby. And then it was them, and they were on meth. By the way, the moms were on meth downstairs. He was on meth, didn't know he was on meth. And then the third room upstairs he was like 4 or 5, this kid and his mom, who was the landlord / meth dealer / escort. So it was funny because I gave him like $20. I was like, let's do drugs. And he was like, well, what do you want? And I was like, I don't care. Dude, he came back. Like I said, I didn't know where I was. He came back in like 30 seconds fucking flat. And I was like, where the fuck did you go? And he's like, I've got connects. Like, bitch, she was in the same fucking house. So that was the beginning of my meth journey. Did not mean for that to happen, but it did. And that was some Cali shit. And I mean, like, when I say, like, I didn't have lips by the end of that. Like, you give me 3 months on meth, like, I chewed the fuck out of my face. Like, I had no face. And it got super, like, it's funny, man, people are fucking different on meth. Let me just throw that out there. Like, shit changed real fucking quick. Like within like a month. No, not even. I won't give him a month, bro. Like, he switched our doorknobs to where, like, he locked me in when he was at work, and like the landlord would like come in like right after and like unlock the door and be like, come on, honey. Like, I felt like a little fucking stray dog or some shit at that point, man. So then I'd like run in there, and like I remember, like, I was like super mad. I forget what I was mad at one day. It was something like, he left me in there without meth. And she was like, fuck him. And she like handed me this fucking like giant diamond sized meth. It was just this fucking just colossal. She's like, break it on the table. And I was like, what? Break it on the table. So, yeah, it is methed up, Bryant. So, I just sat there and I just fucking broke that, dude. And it's so funny because looking back, like, I was like, yeah. But like, there was a fucking kid in that room. Like, I was smoking meth with the fucking rant. Fuck, dude. Like, that was some methed up shit. So anyway, that happened for about 3 months, and then he choked me up against the wall. Just super, like, we're both really paranoid. He choked me up against the wall and wanted me to it's funny. He chokes me and then he cries about it. Fucking shit. That's the best part. He started crying about it. So I ran away. Like, I waited for him to, like, eventually you have to sleep. I waited for him to eventually sleep, and then, like, because he was in the room, so he couldn't lock me in, teehee. And I just ran the fuck away. And it's funny, my dad told me, once again, thinking back, my dad, I called my dad, and I didn't tell him I was high on meth. I'm pretty sure he knew that I was high on meth. I mean, it might not have been meth, but I know he thought I was high because I actually went to my first AA meeting, or NA. I don't really know. I was high as fucking balls, but I sat in there and I heard fucking nothing. And because he wanted me to go with his Olympic swimming girlfriend's daughter. I don't know. It was some weird ass shit, man. Just weird. I remember the daughter was like, I was like, what, where are we going? Like, where? Because I thought that she wasn't really like in some form of recovery. Like, I thought she was just saying that was where she was going and we were going to go get fucked up. But like, we fucking went. Like, I didn't realize. It was funny. And I was like, well, what do you do? And she was like, I don't do anything. I was like, okay, whatever, fucking liar. Like, what did you do? And she was like, ecstasy. And I'm such a fucking asshole. I was like, that's why you're fucking in recovery? Ecstasy. I was such an asshole, man. I really was. I'm sitting there fucking high as a goddamn kite. Like, really? I did that shit on the weekend, you bitch. Like, I was a fucking asshole, man. I'm not even fronting. anyway, also I didn't like her mom. Had nothing to do with my dad. Her mom was just she was strong and she was a bitch. Also, so anyway, so I ran away and it's funny, my dad from his house and my dad picked me up and like literally middle of the night called him like 8 times. He answered, he came and picked me up and he was like, and I remember he took me to an IHOP by the airport. He got me a ticket back to New Jersey and he said, you know, you can stay here, right? And I like looked at him like I was still half tweakied and I was just looking at him and he was just like, if you stay with me, you can live under my roof. I will pay for you to go to nursing school. First, I just want to put in real quick. I don't know why the fuck it was nursing school. I had no desire to be a nurse. I don't know why it was nursing school, but it was fucking nursing school. Wanted to throw that out there. And he, you know, and he's like, but you'd have to go to school and you cannot do drugs or drink under my roof. So obviously I took that plane ride back to New Jersey. I did not take him up on his generous offer. Also, he did say nursing school, but I'm pretty sure if I was like, hey, I want to do this, will you still pay for this? Like, I'm pretty sure he would have. Like, I think he just wanted me to not be on drugs. Because it was pretty fucking obvious. And you know, it's funny, like when like I grew up getting beat all the time for doing the wrong thing. And then, you know, I'm 18 and there was no more hitting. There was no more. It was just like, dude, like it was pretty much the last ditch effort, you know, last ditch time. And there was nothing, you know, there was no fight left in him really. And I've seen him once since then. We literally text, happy birthday, Merry Christmas, Happy Easter. Like we don't really talk that much anymore. But this is also because I have like, I'm still, you know, I've been through my steps quite a few times, but like, I'm not good at truly forgiving myself for a lot of things. And one thing that I realized, well, I didn't realize, my sponsor told me, she's like, how are you supposed to forgive people that have done like some shit to you if you can't fully forgive yourself? And I think that's like a really big thing for me, that like, it's hard for me to like I say that I forgive my dad for like the way that I grew up. Like, you know, it's like I do, but like, I think I think it's almost like lying to myself. Like, I think part of me does, but like a lot of me still has a lot of resentments and like, I can't forgive him until I forgive myself. And like, I don't like, he doesn't even know I have a kid. Like, I'm just trying to play it as safe as I can right now. And like, I don't, you know, I got to do what's right for me and my family at this point in my life. But anyway, so I go back out to New Jersey and I ended up, I was still taking Xanax and I took them, drank, and I ended up, I don't remember it. I hung myself, complete God moment, not me hanging myself. But it was the afterwards. I guess I was screaming at my mom and she pounded down the door. She comes up to my shoulder. She's a little, man. And she broke down my door. This little fucking like 5'1" chick breaks down my door and she never has her phone on her. And she had her phone on her and she threw herself under me and she called 911. So I was in the psych ward for 2 months, found out when I was in the psych ward that I got charged because the cops come when you try to off yourself. I got charged with what was it? Paraphernalia, I think. I think they found, I don't know, I had a bunch of shit. So I guess that's what they charged me with. But I ended up in there and with a year's probation. So that was fun. And you know, I stayed dry. I'm not going to say sober. I stayed dry for a while. Just because the court, and like I saw my grandfather like cry for the first time when I was in there, and he's like, what are you doing to yourself? And like, you know, he's asked me what am I doing to myself before, because like, you know, he told me that I looked like a pincushion, because I did. You know, he told me all these things, but like this is the first time he was actually crying. Like he used to just mess around with me. This was the first time he was crying. Like, what have you done to yourself? And it was like, fuck, I don't know, you know. So I stayed dry for a long time. Like, I don't want to say sober because like I know what sobriety is now, and I know what the fuck being dry is, and I was dry as shit, man. Yeah, which it eventually, when I was I don't know. I forget how old I was. I think I was like 21. I, quickly started, I after that court was done, I was smoking and drinking, but in the psych ward also met this kid, Nick. He was a heroin user, told me he was never going to use heroin again, that he loved me. I pick winners. Just wanted to throw that one out there. Just grade A winners. And he, in fact, was not done doing heroin. But it's funny, for a while, like, I didn't, and he always wanted me like to be the Bonnie to his Clyde, and I didn't for a long time, and then some fucked up shit happened to me. And I was going to the bars a lot. I was drinking, and I was drinking, and at this point I was drinking again. I was smoking, and then I started, because I was at the bar so late, I started doing coke again. And then I found meth in New Jersey. Dude, that shit is not fucking, that was not meth. That was I don't know what the fuck that was, but that was not fucking meth. Anyway, they said it was, so I'm gonna call it that. But I don't know what the fuck it was. It was stomped on so much. It was probably like fucking baby laxatives at that point. But I some shit happened to me, and it's funny, I broke up with him, and probably about 6 months later I called him, and I completely lied. I was like, I want to get back together with you. Just, I like, when I said, like, just bad shit happened, and I remembered him high, and I remembered him being nodded out, and like, you could barely wake him up when he was nodded out, and he wasn't dead, but he wasn't living. And like, I was so torn up inside that, like, I didn't want to die. I remember watching my pop cry and shit, but like, I didn't want to live. And like, within those dry years, by the way, like, I became a cosmetologist. I'm still a pretty damn good barber. I was going back to school, like, to further education, like, while I was doing that. Like, I did a lot, and I made a lot of money. And I called him, and I just said, it's funny, I always said heroin is the one thing I wasn't going to touch. And I said, I want to be back with you. I love you. I realized I was wrong. That was a fucking lie. And then I said that I said, but bring some of that heroin with you. Bring some of that stuff with you. So he brought it, and he shot up. So the night that he came, he brought dope, and there was no thought about it. I was the Bonnie to his Clyde, and he shot me up for the first time. Once again, didn't like it. Tried again. Because like I said, if first you don't succeed, try again. I liked it around like the third time. So that was really when like the crack and the heroin plopped into play. I don't really need to get too deep into that. Let's just say there was a lot of psych wards, a lot of charges, a lot of trips to Camden, and a lot of ODs, and it was not pretty. Like, to the point where like he stole my shit, and like, I literally cut the motherfucker. I sewed him back up. Don't worry, I sewed him up. I gave him a little bit. Anyway. So but it just, things did not go good. I was homeless for a lot less time than other people, but I'll tell you what, being homeless in New Jersey in the dead ass fucking winter sucked ass. And it's funny because if you ask my mother or my sister now if I was homeless, like, I'll be like, I'll talk, I'll be talking to my friends, like, yeah, like when I was homeless, and I'll like be talking about, you were not homeless. Like, there was a restraining order, the locks were changed, and I lived on the street. What the fuck do you but yeah, so my using, I wish that this was the end of it. It was very close. It entailed me driving. It's funny, I was driving literally right in front of the job that fired me, and I ran into an old man, not his body, his car, because I nodded out, and the cops had me walk the line or whatever. I don't fucking remember. I guess they did, and there was a bunch of drugs next to me on the fucking seat. And then they put me in jail. Once again, I don't remember any of this, but what I do remember is getting hit with the nightstick. I spit and kicked and hit them. I don't know who, but I did. And I got whacked with a nightstick. And then it's funny, I know this because of my 35-page police report. Apparently, I was fucking Houdini. So when I smoked meth, I like to watch a lot of videos of like getting out of handcuffs and shit. Apparently, I kept sliding out of them. They had to like double cuff me. I slid out, and I guess the second time the door was fucking open, and I was trying to get out the window. Fuck, that was some dumbass shit, man. Like I like reading that report is because I read it for the first time in sobriety, like trying to try. I for the longest I didn't know what happened, but I was trying. I forget what I was trying to do. I was at work, and I was trying to do something, and they needed my police report. And DUI school because I hit the old dude. They needed my police report, so I gave it to them, and I'm printing it out at work, and my boss was like, no, you can print this out here, sure, use all the ink and the paper in the world. She's like, but if you're printing this out here, I'm fucking reading it. And she was just dying, and I was like, that didn't happen. She's like, it's on the fucking, what do you mean it didn't happen? I was like, they told me I could go home at one point. And she's like, obviously the fuck. So I guess that's what set it off. I thought that they were going to let me go home. And that was not what they said. Anyway, ended back up in the psych ward where I met, the love of my life. And we were still dating at the time. It's funny. He used to do this like threatened suicide thing to me. Like, I'm going to kill myself. And I'd be like, no. And then like eventually I was just like, fucking do it. Like I was such an asshole, man. Like he was lying. He just wanted me to stay with him. And actually it was funny because at that point I was so I got sent to the psych ward, and I guess after that he tried to get himself sent to the psych ward. So cute, right? But they knew who the fuck we were. The cops knew who the fuck we were. They put him in a different one. It's funny because mine could get incoming calls and his could do outgoing calls. And he calls me and I was like, fuck, dude, like, what do you want? Are you okay? Like, are you okay? And it's funny, my brain right there was just like, Sarah, you can break up with him. He can't threaten to kill himself. I mean, he could, but go ahead, motherfucker. You're in a psych ward. Enjoy that extra time. So I broke up with him in the psych ward, and he threatened it. I don't know how long he got, but he threatened it. Anyway, so God moment when I woke up in the psych ward, the girl that was in the same room as me was actually an old friend, and this is how you know you were fucking up in life when your friends are in the psych ward with you. Anyway, woke up, she was there, her name was Shay, and she told me I looked like shit, and she told me to go to Florida, and I didn't really I didn't want to get sober, but I knew I had a lot of charges. So I did. I came down here, and she was kind of like my little angel. Honestly, she was the one that got me started, got the ball rolling, and she's actually no longer here anymore. She was doing really good, then fell off there. But yeah, I came down here, man, and like I'm not gonna say that like I went through my steps correctly at all. Like I was a fucking asshole. I didn't want anybody to tell me what the fuck to do. And I just kind of fucked around a lot because I was really for the court. And it's funny, I went to enough meetings to actually hear what people had to say. And I went through my court cases, and I got, I have a felony now and whatever. And where I live, they wouldn't accept my probation, and because of the violence in my crime. And they told me that they were going to put me on a bus. And the minute I heard it's funny, they told me they were going to put me on a bus back up to New Jersey for me to do my 5 years of probation, which is funny because it was 5 years of probation, and then it was 1 if I finished my treatment. So they were just kind of like fucking me up on purpose, like, all right, enjoy your 5 years, like you can't finish IOP, motherfucker. So I actually I didn't want to get high. I knew if I went back up there I was going to get high immediately. I knew it, and because I hadn't done anything that I needed to do. And I called my lawyer, and literally my probation got completely terminated. And like that was the first time that I was like, holy shit, there's a God. holy shit, like holy shit, like I didn't want to get high, and I don't have, oh my god, I don't have to go up there, like holy, like it was for me, like that shit was some wild ass shit, like straight up, like that was kind of like my first like whoa. um and I started working with the sponsor who she started dual diagnosis meetings, and she actually did not have a god, but at that point that was kind of somebody that I needed. Like I saw that miracle, but I also still needed somebody that wasn't going to shove it down my throat. And when I said the third step prayer with her, she didn't say it with me. And I don't know, I just, part of me wanted somebody to say it with me. It was weird. I was in the middle of a Starbucks sitting at a table and she didn't say it with me. And it was just weird, but I still finished going through the steps and I started sponsoring women. And then I got pregnant, I had my son, and I started working with another woman, and she, sorry, I'm talking so much. And she actually she was not scared to talk about God at all, like whatsoever. And she took me through the book, like word by word, line by line. The first time I went through it, it was like, read these pages and we'll come back and talk about it. And I needed somebody to go through it word by word, line for line. Cause like, I'm in school now again, but like, I'm super fucking shut out, man. Like I need shit to be explained to me. Like I just do. And it was really, not knocking the first process that I went through. I needed that. That was just something that I personally needed. And I it's funny, I went through it with her, and a lot of amazing things happened. Like I was able to be in my cousin's wedding. Um she fucking hated me for a long time, but she was also my best friend. I was able to be in her wedding. I was able to make an amends to my grandfather, the one who was crying in the psych ward. And I was super lucky that I was able to do that because he passed away not shortly after. Um, and I've done, I'm for the longest time, I didn't think that I had anything that like I could help another woman with, like to sponsor. But like, what a fucking selfish ass way of thinking, man. Like the only way that like this shit moves on to other people and you help other people is by fucking helping other people. And how selfish was I to say that like I didn't have something for somebody else? And like it feels like it's so for the longest time, like I didn't work step 12, man. Like I was working 1 through 11, I wasn't doing 12. And like when I finally did, this sense of like ease that I had helping another woman was just, it was just, it was, it was phenomenal. And like I chase them, man. Like I don't chase them down. I'm not going to work the recovery for them. But like if I hear that like somebody Bryant knows, I'm like, hey, like what's up with the girls? Like, and it's funny because my sponsee that I've had, everybody comes and goes. Hopefully they stay. You want them to stay, and hopefully you want them to outgrow you. But truly, like, but a lot, once again, Bryant knows, he's seen a lot of my girls in and out. And this one, she stuck around for the longest time, and she is fucking awesome. Like she chases them down too. She wants to sponsor. She wants to be of service. Like I have to tell her, like, dude, like it's not like you can't just live and breathe AA. Like you have to fucking like, you have to find some shit that you fucking love, because like recovery isn't just to throw yourself into AA. Like it's fucking amazing. That's awesome. But like find some shit that you fucking love too. Like I know we could love it, but like don't burn yourself the fuck out. Shit. Like you can't just work in AA because it's not, it just can't work that way. It just fucking can't. And I once again learned that the hard way. I didn't relapse over it, but like it was just fucking when I got it, like I said, I'm an addict. When I started sponsoring, it was like, fuck, like I need more. I fucking need more. And then I couldn't fucking help anybody because I had too many motherfuckers. Especially myself or my kid, So like I've got certain nights that I do, that I sponsor, and the rest, like, and then I've got certain nights that I go to meetings, and like obviously I always answer if a sponsee calls me. If I don't, I'm in the middle of something, I always make sure I call them back within 12 hours. But like I I don't know, like I didn't get sober just to go crazy for it. Like I got sober because I wanted a better life, and because like and I have it now, man. Like I can like I fish again. Like I didn't fish since I was a kid, and it's funny. My friend Zach, he actually just recently passed away. He got hit by a semi. He was chasing. He was a trooper, but he actually showed me how to fish. Um, how to fish again. He showed me. He gave me like all. I fucking can't use any of this stupid fucking bait now because he gave it to me. But it's fine. I'll stick with shrimp. But he, I just, I don't know. He helped me find some shit that like I needed. Like I needed to learn that again. Like I needed to remember how to tie a fucking knot around the hook. Like I needed all of it. And like he was there. And like so I love doing that. Also, I'm in my sourdough era. I'm making fucking sourdough all the time. And I have a garden. I don't know. I have a whole I find a lot of joy in random, as Bryant would say, basic shit, because he told me that I'm fucking normal now. And that was the biggest stab to the heart that I ever fuck you, dude. Fuck you. I see you're fucking smiling. Like that was the biggest stab to the heart that I've ever had, getting called normal, which is funny because it's like, I mean, I might look, I guess whatever, dude. Fuck you, Bryant. Like, but like
I said you look normal.
Yeah.
You're fucking normal because you're not.
Yeah, my attitude and my personality just shines bright, or as my boyfriend would say, my personalities would shine bright for it. Anyway, but yeah, that's what I got for y'all. Just one day at a fucking time, really. That's it. Thank you. Do I mute myself now? What the fuck do I do? I'm gonna mute myself.
Yeah, you can mute yourself, and everybody else, I'm gonna get ready to end the live streams, but you can raise your hand, you can share. I know Allie Kane was shaking her head in agreement throughout your whole story, so she probably has something to share. And when she messaged me, I'm like, "You're gonna love this speaker tonight." She's a fellow tweaker, so I can see it resonated with her, and I've seen a lot of smiles and head nodding in the room. So the meeting's y'all's. I've talked to Sarah enough throughout my years of sobriety. I came into the rooms, into her home group, and forced myself into this friend group of people that had multiple years of sobriety, that were younger than me, that were really doing this shit, and they taught me a lot over the years. So thank you to all those people in Drug Addicts Anonymous. And with that, it's your fucking meeting, not mine. Go ahead.
I'll go for it. Hi, I'm Allie, fellow Juggalo. Oh my God, Sarah, bro. I can totally relate. Minus ever going to jail, ever catching charges. I was, fuck, bro. All of it. Like, no shit, when you're like, I found the bunny, like Bonnie and Clyde. Bro, I have that shit tatted on my leg. I've been in your footsteps. I have fucking been through it. And then you're talking in different voices. That I fucking do that shit all the time, and people fucking are like, are you fucking, what's wrong with you? Anyways, I fucking it's so funny how we do realize how fast we grew up and all the shit that we've been through, but the lives that we have lived, we have went through an experience that most can definitely say that they have never and never will live in our lifetimes. And we can honestly say that we wouldn't wish that upon our worst enemies ever, if you think about it, because we've been there, and it's not a great place. So thank you for giving me a chance to remind myself to stay humble. This last couple of weeks have been hard. I just got diagnosed with another mental disorder, so it's been a little rough around here and a little hard on me, but I'm just keeping with faith. I didn't believe in a God either, and I got baptized last year before my birthday, and I found another higher power. I found a higher power during my overdose. I don't know. It's a whole story. If you want to hear the story, I'll put my number in the chat. Hit me up. We can chop it up, talk real shit. And yeah, but thank you for sharing. You really like humbled me tonight, because I was like starting to feel in a bad place. Like, does anybody really know what I went through? Like, and you've been there. So thanks for sharing.